Growing up in India, Europe always felt like a land of dreams and fantasy. Its beautiful locations made famous through stunning movie backdrops, both in Hollywood and Bollywood. So when I landed in Europe through my job, I wanted to live that fantasy. But my dear friends, there's always more than meets the eye. It's been 7 years that I have been living and working in Europe. And don't get me wrong, I totally love Europe. But there are quite a few things which do not agree with me so much. Surprised? Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, The Happy Host. Today I wish to share with you 5 points that I love and 5 that I don't about living in Europe. But before doing that, a small disclaimer. My points are not directed against any region or culture. Rather, they are just my point of view based on my own likes and dislikes. And that comes from my background, the place that I've grew up. All that have shaped my tastes and interests. So please do not take this as an advice. It's only my point of view, which you may or may not agree with. So let's start with the positives first. The ones that I truly love about living in Europe. The first point, most obviously, will be the abundant natural beauty that Europe is endowed with. From the moment I landed in Europe, I have been blown away by its natural beauty. Each country has its own unique charm, with mountains and valleys, lakes and forests. Europe has a very low population density as compared with other regions, for example, America or even Asia. And that is one of the reasons that the natural resources are maintained very well in Europe. So if we look at the land and forest cover, at an average, over 40 to 50% of the land in Europe is still natural forest land. And only the rest of it is used for construction. In fact, Sweden has the highest percentage of forest cover, which is 70%. So only 30% of the land in Sweden is constructed land. So wherever you live, study or work in Europe, you will always be surrounded by forests and lakes. And when you wake up every morning, it's a beautiful feeling looking out through the window and spending so much time amidst nature. It reduces your stress, improves your mood, and elevates your spirits. The second point that I love about Europe is its relaxed, slow-paced way of life. Now, I have lived and worked in some of the world's busiest cities, for example, New York, London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and of course, Bangalore in India, where I started working. So what is common to all of these cities? Well, of course, the extremely fast-paced life, long working hours, and very high stress levels. So when I came to Europe, what I noticed instantly was the slow-paced and relaxed way of life, an extremely well-balanced work and life prioritization, and this was in stark contrast to what I had experienced earlier. And that is what I started appreciating here in Europe. Targets and expectations at work are much more realistic. It is appreciated if you seek help and participate in teamwork. Importance is also given to sufficient rests and breaks in between work. The number of holidays in Europe are much more than what I had in US and India. Family time is considered of highest importance. Taking long breaks during summer and a short one during winter is almost a given. Working hours are respected, and working beyond your normal hours are not generally encouraged. All of these have really improved my work-life balance and reduced my stress to a huge extent. This has also given me a lot of time to pursue my interests, my hobbies, and travel around the rest of Europe. I am even able to take 2 vacations a year to visit my family back in India. No wonder then that the European countries rank at the top of the happiness index every year among all the countries of the world. The third thing that I truly love about living in Europe is the extreme focus on health and fitness. People of all ages are into some form of exercise and are extremely active physically. So they are either into jogging, running, gym, swimming, skating, skiing, depending on what time of the year, what season it is. They never miss their exercises. They always maintain a very healthy routine. And most people you will see are very, very fit physically. Children in schools are also encouraged to pick up some form of additional sport as part of their curriculum. Now, this is something which was not part of my regular routine. I mean, I used to exercise even when I was in US or India, but it was not like a regular practice. It was more of a nice to have than a must have. But seeing people here not missing their morning or evening runs, even when it rains or snows or when it's the peak of summer in extreme heat, they never miss their exercises. So this sort of motivated me, and I have also now started doing that as a habit, as a practice. I've picked up some form of exercise when it's summer, so I go out. A walk in the nature is very, very stimulating. During winter, I try to do the gym or a bit of exercises at home. So I think seeing the people around me, the habits that they practice, seeing how fit and active they are, that has sort of motivated me to also include a healthy lifestyle into my routine. The fourth thing that I love about living in Europe is how well connected the countries are within themselves as well as among the countries in terms of train and bus network, and also the ease of walking around each city for sightseeing. So as you may know, Europe has a group of countries called Schengen countries, for which you do not need individual visas to travel to each of these countries. So if you have a Schengen visa, be it a business visa, work visa, or a student visa, you can freely travel across all of these Schengen countries without having to apply for any separate visa. Now, between these countries also you can take trains or buses, and they are very, very convenient. So I've myself traveled from Amsterdam to Brussels, from Germany to Luxembourg, Germany to Austria, and these I have used trains and buses which are very, very convenient, very comfortable as well. So that is the ease of connectivity where you can travel from one country to the other seamlessly. And even within a city, there are excellent public transport networks. And the good part is most of the sightseeing spots are almost always located in the city center. So once you've reached the city center, you can practically walk around all of those sightseeing places. So I have myself done it, whether in cities like Stockholm in Sweden, or Amsterdam in Netherlands, Brussels in Belgium, Milan in Italy, Luxembourg, which is a city come a country. So all of these places are very, very easy to walk around. Whether you're a traveler or you're living there, you will always find the city center being the most attractive, where you can just walk around to spend some time. The fifth thing that I love about living in Europe is the zero traffic jam culture. When I say Europe, I mean those countries where I myself have traveled extensively, for example, Sweden, Belgium, Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, some of these countries where I've myself traveled so much. And every time my experience on the road has been very, very smooth. There are absolutely no traffic jams. I have never seen one during my 7 years of stay in Europe. Now, this may sound trivial to some of you, but trust me, I have lived in some of the busiest cities of the world, like New York, London, and Bangalore, where traffic jams actually create havoc when it comes to daily commute to office or school, or even when you're going to the airport, going to the hospital, going for a dinner invitation. So the moment you're moving out of a house, if you're stuck in the traffic, that can be a nightmare. So the absence of traffic jams came as a welcome relief for me when I came to Europe. So now I can plan my travel for exactly that time that is required on the road, and I've always reached there on time. Now, this lack of traffic jams in Europe can possibly be attributed to two reasons. One is the low population in Europe compared to the other regions that I mentioned, for example, America, UK, and India. And because of the lower population, probably the number of cars, vehicles on the road are also lesser. That could be one of the reasons. And the second reason is a lot of people mostly use the public transport. Public transport is excellent in the European cities. So because a lot of people are using the public transport for all their essential needs, probably people are using their vehicles a lot less. And that contributes to lesser traffic on the road as such. Europe has been my home for 7 years now, and these were the top 5 things that I love about living here. So there are several others, but I would restrict it to the top 5 for now. But it's not been all rosy since I started living here for all these years. There are quite a few things where I've had a bit of disappointment. I've not been very happy with a few other things, and they have had an impact on my life in some way or the other. So now let me talk to you about the top 5 things that I do not like about living in Europe. The first thing would be the extreme weather in the northern part of Europe. I come from India. I was born and raised in India, and as you know, India is a tropical country. It is warm for most parts of the year. Even in winter, the temperature dips to just about 18 to 20 degrees centigrade. From there, I came to Europe. I started living in Sweden, Stockholm, and traveled across Europe for work. Mostly, it's the northern countries of Europe that I travel to. And as you know, these are all very cold countries. In Stockholm, where I live, it's 9 months of cold and just 3 months are slightly warmer. That is during the summer months of June to August. During winter, the temperature dips to below minus 20 degrees centigrade. The lakes and rivers are frozen. There's heavy snow during the months of December to February. Even the rest of the northern European countries that I travel to, they may not be as cold as Sweden, but still they are very cold. Now, even after living here for 7 years, I don't think I have adjusted to this kind of cold weather for such long periods of time. In Europe, as they say, the weather is never bad. It's your clothing that is not right. So I obviously, after coming here, I did purchase the right kind of clothing. But still, I don't think I'm very comfortable when it comes to this kind of cold. When it comes to going out or traveling so much in the cold, I don't think I'm that comfortable. In addition to the cold, it also gets very dark and wet during the winter months. And that brings me to the second point that I do not like about living in Europe: the lack of sunlight. For a large part of the year, Sweden does not get a lot of sunlight. Similarly, a lot of the other countries that I travel to also do not get a lot of sunlight for several months in the year. That has impacted my health, both physical health and mental health. It has weakened the bones. I have started getting a lot of skin problems. So initially, when I started getting these kind of problems and I visited the doctors, I was advised to take supplements of vitamin D. So I have been using that medicine as well. Overall, living in so much darkness for prolonged periods of time has had an adverse effect on the mental health, not just me, but so many others that I see around me. There is also the risk of getting into depression for several people. The third challenge that I have in Europe is with housing. So firstly, in several of these countries, there is a huge shortage of accommodation. That is, the number of housing units is less than the demand for accommodation. And even if you find a house, the houses will generally be much smaller than what I have seen in India or America. Well, there is a good reason for the sizes of houses being small in Europe. The reason being, every country in Europe has set its limits to what should be the percentage of land that will be available for construction. And based on that availability of land, they have tried to optimize. So the smaller the size of the house, the more number of houses you can build. And also because most of these countries, as I said, are very cold countries. So having a smaller housing unit will also save on your energy costs during winter, for example, for heating the houses and so on. Now, while I understand the reasons for having houses that are so small, it actually can be a challenge for people who have lived in bigger spaces. For example, me having lived in India and America, where houses are much bigger in general. So having to adjust in such a small space has been a challenge for me. I feel that lack of space makes me claustrophobic. I'm not able to purchase things which are of big size because I do not have sufficient space to store them or accommodate them. So every time I want to buy something, I have to assess the space, whether I can afford to keep that in my house. The fourth thing that I dislike about living in Europe is the lack of colors when it comes to clothes. So mostly when I see people on the streets, people at work, or even the stores that have garments lined up, all the clothes would be invariably black or white or grey. To find a single colored clothes, you will have to actually roam around a lot of stores, and then you might find one or two. Now, I come from India where, as you may know, India is a very colorful country when it comes to its clothes. So we use very vibrant colors, a lot of color combinations, and color, as you know, it helps as a therapy as well. It enlivens our mood. So from there, having to adjust with just black and white, it is not something I like very much. So on the one hand, you do not have sun, it's just cloudy all the time. And on the other hand, you have clothes which are just black, white or grey. So overall, it just makes everything look so gloomy. My fifth challenge is around getting medical treatment for general illnesses in Europe. Now, as we all know, most of the European countries provide excellent medical services for their people. But that is mostly for illnesses that are high risk or emergency cases. But if you talk about general illnesses, the ones that are more seasonal in nature, or your fever, sickness, aches and pains, those are the kind of ailments for which it is very difficult to get a doctor's appointment in Europe. So what most people do is they either carry medicines with them for these general illnesses, or they reach out to the pharmacies. The people at the pharmacies, they recommend medicines, and that is what we consume. So while in Europe, you have to be extremely cautious, take very good care of your health so that you do not fall sick. Living in any country will have its pros and cons. And I just shared my experiences of living in Europe. But in spite of all the challenges that I just mentioned, I have had a wonderful time in Europe over the last 7 years. I've traveled extensively around the length and breadth of Europe. I have loved my experience with nature. I've picked up healthy habits. I have learned new skills. I've enjoyed everything that I love about Europe. And for the challenges that I faced, I have learned to work my way around them. So these were some of my experiences that I shared with you. I would love to hear from you as well about what are the things that you like and what you don't about living in Europe. If you like my content, do subscribe to my channel and like, share and comment on this video. Hope to see you again next week. Till then, bye-bye.